Hey everybody, and welcome to the world of weather. I'm here with my number one helper, Annalise, who is a second grader. She's 8 years old, and we've been learning about all kinds of weather. Do you know what we're doing today? Rain and flooding, and we've had a lot of rain this year, haven't we? It rains all the time, even though today's been really nice. Do you have a good weekend? Did it go by fast?
Yes.
Too fast?
Yes.
Yes. Did you have school all morning?
Yes.
Yes. So now we're going to do a little more school, but we're going to make it fun. So that's our goal, is to make learning fun. I'm going to do a little demo. We're going to talk about rain, flooding, where we are in Georgia right now, and why the fact that we've had so much rain could lead to more problems down the road. So we're going to start with, I have a little paper towel here, and we're going to pretend that this is the soil. So this is the ground, okay? So this is the soil. So we've got a paper towel, and I'm putting it in here just so that everything doesn't get soaked. So Annalise, why don't you pour water onto this paper towel? Go ahead. Okay, that's good. Okay, what happened to the paper towel?
It got wet and it kind of sinked.
Okay, so it's all wet. So now if you can look in here, probably can't see at the angle. What's all this water in here?
It's still leftover water.
It's left over. So now let's pretend that was rain. So now pour water in here.
More?
Now that the paper towel's wet. Yep, go ahead, pour water. What's happening?
It keeps flood. It's getting
Okay, that's good.
more water.
So what's happening?
The
The
paper
paper towel can't hold
not.
any more water, can it? So what do you think happens outside if it just rained and the soil is like this paper towel, it's soaking wet and it keeps raining? Where does the water go?
In the city and down the drains.
Yep, down the drains. That's exactly right. So rain is very similar, and you can do this at home. After a while, the soil can't absorb any more water. That's why this pan is basically full of water, because the soil can't absorb any more water. And that's why when we talk about flooding, that's what flooding is. Too much rain and the soil can't absorb it quick enough, it turns into runoff and it goes in creeks and streams, and that can be a problem as well. So we're going to pretend that this cup here is a river, okay? So once the rain gets above the cup, that's flood stage. We call it flood stage, when the river is right at the top of its banks. So if you were to pour all this water in this cup, what would happen?
It would flood.
It would flood, it would overflow. And that's the same case with rivers. They get to their banks when it gets to the top of the cup, or the top, they crest, or the top of the river. And if it just keeps raining, all that water has nowhere to go, right? So we get river flooding as well. So that's a little bit about flooding and rivers. And just to let everyone know, when you think about severe weather, people think of hurricanes and tornadoes, but flooding is actually a natural disaster, one of the most popular natural disasters, and 90% of all U.S. natural disasters declared by the president involves some sort of flooding, and it can happen in all 50 states. Really can happen anywhere in the world. A lot of people think that it can't flood in the desert. That's not true. Flooding can happen anywhere. Here in Georgia, we've already had some flooding this year because we've had so much rain. So this is something at CBS 46 that we're watching very closely, because the rivers, the creeks, the streams, they're already very close to, if not above their banks. So additional rainfall could cause some flooding. So we're going to show some graphics here. And then we're going to continue our lesson. So as my computer shuts off, come back. Okay, so we're going to flip this around. So here we go. So Annalise, can you see? Can everybody see?
I can't.
Okay, let me turn this monitor.
I can see on the...
You can see it there? Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. World of weather. So rain in Atlanta. Is this backwards to everyone at home? I think this is backwards. We're going to have to do it the other way. Okay, we're going to have to do it. Okay, so rain in Atlanta. Let me put this tripod. It's okay. I'll go right there. Okay, on average in Atlanta, we have just under 50 inches of rain. So in a normal year, of course, not every year is normal, but in a normal year, we get about 50 inches of rain a year. And an interesting fact is a lot of people think Seattle is rainy. And it is. Seattle's overcast. They get rain as well, but they don't get as much rain as we do. Seattle gets about 38 inches of rain a year, whereas we get almost 50 inches of rain this year. And this year has been exceptionally wet. This year so far, we've already had more than 25 inches of rain. So we're only in March, and we're already halfway to what we normally get. So Annalise, based on this, do you think that this year, 2020, we're going to have more rain than normal or less rain than normal?
More.
Yeah, more rain than normal because it's been a very wet year. This is through March 25th, but as of March 25th, with that 25 inches of rain, we're in 4th place for the wettest years on record. It's been very, very wet. We've had a lot of rain. We talked about flooding a lot earlier this year, and certainly if this continues, we're going to be in some trouble here as we head through the rest of the season and the rest of the year, especially since this is when we get most of our rain, is late winter, early spring, and July. That's the wettest months of the year for us here in Atlanta. So we're knee deep in it, and certainly this will continue through July. Usually fall or October is the driest time of year for us. That's when we get the lowest rainfall totals. Here's a live look at Lake Lanier. Those of you who've been to the lake recently, live on the lake, you know those water levels are very high right now. And this is a popular question we get. Why doesn't the Army Corps of Engineers release some of that water? And again, it goes into flooding. They can't release too much water too fast because all that water goes down the Chattahoochee, and you're going to flood all those people downstream from the lake. Now, Lake Lanier is man-made, and as I just said, the Chattahoochee River flows in and out of Lake Lanier. So the water comes in from our north to Lake Lanier, and then the water releases downstream south through Georgia. When the lake gets too full, the Army Corps of Engineers, they do release some of that water, but when it rains so much as it has this year, they can't release it all at once because, again, that water has to go somewhere. It can't absorb. It's not just going to magically disappear. You know, you release it from Lake Lanier, but then it goes in the Chattahoochee. And if the Chattahoochee is at its banks or above its banks, then you're going to have flooding downstream. So it's a very careful measurement as far as how much to release and how fast to release it. Now, another part of flooding, we talk about not just river flooding, but urban flooding. In Atlanta, we have a lot of concrete, so flooding is a big danger. We always say turn around, don't drown, because people think the water has to be to their waist in order to cause a vehicle to be carried away, but that's not true. 2 feet of water can float and carry away a vehicle. So think about it. 2 feet of water, that's about to your knees. If the water is to your knees, then it can carry a car away. Is that surprising to you?
Yes.
You would think it needs more water, right? But yeah, just 2 feet of water. So if you are in a car, we always say turn around, don't drown, because only 2 feet of water to carry a vehicle. So it's time for today's trivia question, and this one I answered, Annalise. Hopefully you were listening. Which city receives more rain per year, Seattle or Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, ding, 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 ding. Yes, Atlanta gets more rain per year. Again, Atlanta, we get almost 50 inches of rain a year, whereas Seattle gets about 30 of rain per year. So that's a little bit about flooding and rain and why it's so important to monitor the river levels, because once the rivers are at or above their banks, you get more rain, you get flooding, and all that rain goes somewhere. You have to remember that. All that rain goes somewhere. A lot of it does evaporate. It goes into the soil, but also when we get too much rain and the soil can't keep up, that's when you get flooding. And we've talked about watches and warnings pertaining to tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, but there's also flood watches and flood warnings, and it's the same rules. Warning means flooding is happening or about to happen. A flood watch or a flash flood watch means that it could happen. So when you see these flood watches issued, it means we're forecasting rain for the next several days and flooding could happen. And then when you see a flood warning, and usually it's specific to a river or an area, for example, Big Creek in Alpharetta always floods, or floods more often than most. It's built that way. The Greenway's built that way for a reason, because we know that area floods. But when we have a flood warning, it means flooding is happening or flooding is expected to happen. Do you have any questions?
No.
No? Do you understand flooding?
Yes.
Yes. So what kind of questions do we have on Facebook? Please let me know if you have any questions. We can talk about flooding. Yeah, so they're asking about sewage problems when it rains a lot. A lot of the problems we do get with a lot of rain or when it's really hot is just Atlanta's a really old city. We have really old infrastructure. And again, the water has to go somewhere. It all goes down to the water has to go somewhere. So that's why too much rain is bad. Not enough rain is bad. Do you know what it's called when there's not enough rain?
Dry?
Dry. It starts with a D, yeah. What is it called? Do you know? Does anyone
Drought.
at home know? Drought. Good job. Game 5. So a drought is when we don't have enough rain. So it's a delicate balance. You want just enough rain. You want to keep the soil wet, alive, the grass alive, the plants, the trees, the animals. We all need rain. So you don't want a drought. But at the same time, too much rain is bad because then you have flooding and then you have a lot of damage. So we need just enough rain. So drought is not enough rain. Flooding is too much rain. Do we have any other questions, Tim? Is it safe to bring a kayak out when it's flooding? What do you think?
A little bit, so people could go on it instead of their house getting flooded.
Yeah, no, but we're going to say no. Do you know why? Because when there's a lot of rain in these rivers, they I'm at a loss for words. The current, the current's a lot stronger. So we usually advise not to go on the rivers at all when they're really close to their banks or that we've had a lot of rain, because all that runoff makes that current really strong. So it's more dangerous. And a lot of accidents happen when that current is very strong. So normally rivers that are really calm and peaceful, people are used to that. That's what they're used to going on kayaks or tubing. But when you have a lot of rain, it's really a strong current. So it's very dangerous to go on rivers when there's been a lot of rain because that current is really strong. What was the worst flood in Atlanta? Well, actually, I just had up the history of Atlantic or floods in Atlanta. Do you remember the one in 2009? I was here for that in Atlanta. That's when Austell, well, you don't remember because you weren't born yet, right? But in 2009 in North Georgia, especially in Austell, we had really, really bad flooding. And it's crazy to think that was in 2009. That's the most recent historic flood we've had. But when you go through history, obviously there's been a lot of flooding through the years. Some of the worst ones, I'm getting back to this page here, were, so 2009 was the epic flooding in North Georgia. That's the most recent. But in 1994, Tropical Storm Alberto brought us a lot of rain and flooding as well. And that's how we get a lot of these flood events here in North Georgia. A lot of it comes from tropical systems. They produce a lot of rain. So although we're not on the coast, we don't get impacted with the winds of a tropical system. Flooding is really a big problem for us as these tropical systems stall and kind of sit over us, bringing us a lot of rainfall and the potential of flooding. But through the years, the last two recent ones were 2009. Before that, it was 1994. Before that, it was 1938. There was a big historic flood in April. It was the Whitestone flood on April 7th, 1938. So luckily, we haven't had any major flooding recently, but those of you who live in Cobb County, who live in Austell, who live in Cherokee County, who live in Paulding County, we had massive amounts of rainfall there. And the flooding happened very quickly. Those of you who were in it, everything seemed fine. It was just raining, and then all of a sudden, once it starts, it's almost hard to control. And it did happen very fast. I remember actually being at work that day and people started calling in because people couldn't come to work. People couldn't leave their homes. They were trapped in their homes because there was so much water. The roads were closed and they couldn't get out of their neighborhoods.
Could you get out of work?
Yeah, I was actually at work as it was happening.
But could you get out of work and come home?
Yes, so we didn't have flooding at our house where I lived. So I was okay to go home, but there were a lot of streets closed and roads closed and a lot of people were trapped where they couldn't get out of their house. It was really bad. Yep. Oh, that's a really great question because we talk about this all the time. One of the questions was, why do trees tend to fall when we get a lot of rain? So when we have a lot of rain, the rain goes into the soil, right? The soil, the tree is in the soil, and the rain weakens the root structures of the trees. So normally, the roots, they go all through the ground, they're really strong, but when you have a lot of rain, it kind of weakens the root structure a little bit and it just makes them more susceptible. With that said, a perfectly healthy, normal tree, rain is not going to cause it to come down. Usually it's weaker trees or rotten trees or trees that have issues, those are the ones that come down. So that's why it's always so important to get your trees checked to make sure they're healthy, because a lot of times they look healthy, but on the inside they're rotten, and those trees are very susceptible to falling over. And that's when you get power outages and trees down, because the tree is not healthy. But a perfectly normal, healthy tree should not come down when you have lots of rain, but it just makes the problem worse for those that are really weak. That probably should be taken down because they're sick and they're weak. Do we have any more questions? No? No more questions. Oh, one more. Oh, no more. That was the last one. I don't think people are as interested in flooding as some of the other stuff. What do you think? Is the other stuff more interesting?
Maybe they have to do their school and then maybe they watch it later.
Yeah, they'll watch it later. Yeah. Did you learn about flooding today?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. So what is it called when we don't have enough rain?
Drought.
Drought. And what is it called when we have too much rain?
Flood.
Flooding. Very good. And do you understand why rivers and creeks and streams, why they would overflow? What happens when we have a lot of rain?
Because
Yes?
it gets too high and then it floods.
Yeah, and it has to go somewhere, right? Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to World of Weather on this Monday. The weekend was way too short. We're going to have another fun lesson tomorrow. Enjoy today. The pollen count is super high. Next week, we're going to talk about pollen because it's everywhere. So we're going to make sure to do a World of Weather on pollen. It's everywhere, isn't it? Yes. How are you feeling with all the pollen? Good? Yeah?
I'm not allergic to pollen.
Okay, so you're doing well? Yes. Everyone, thanks for joining us for World of Weather. We're going to see you tomorrow at 1:15. Have a great day. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.